Intermittent fasting on a high-carb diet causes brain fog and mood swings because you aren't fat adapted yet. Let's get started on how to fix this.
Okay, so intermittent fasting, it is everywhere right now, right? And everyone's talking about these incredible health benefits. But what if I told you the way most people jump into it is not just wrong, but it could actually be making them feel absolutely awful? Well, today, we're diving into a really critical warning from Dr. Eric Berg that you have got to hear before you even think about skipping a meal. So you're hearing all the buzz, you're seeing it online, and you're probably thinking, hey, maybe I should give this a try. And yeah, the benefits sound amazing, but there's this one super common mistake that can totally derail your efforts and worse, make you feel just plain terrible. And here it is. This is the whole thing in a nutshell. A direct, no-nonsense warning from Dr. Eric Berg himself. Never do intermittent fasting and a high-carbohydrate diet. So the big question is, why? I mean, what's so dangerous about this combination? To really get the why, we've got to look at what's happening inside the body of someone who's eating a pretty typical modern high-carb diet. Because you see, the problem doesn't actually start when you begin fasting. It started way before that. Here's the thing Dr. Berg points out. A lot of people, and I mean a lot, are walking around with things like insulin resistance or hypoglycemia, and they don't even know it. Their bodies are already struggling to manage blood sugar. Now, when you're constantly feeding it carbs, you might not really notice. But this whole situation is just setting the stage for a huge problem the second you stop eating. So what do you think happens when you take that body, one that's already struggling with sugar, and you suddenly cut off its constant supply of carbs? Well, it's not pretty. What you get is a full-on low blood sugar crash. Okay, so here's the science behind it. Your body is basically wired to run on sugar. So when you start to fast, it burns through its tiny little stash of sugar super fast. But, and this is the kicker, it doesn't know how to make the switch over to its massive fuel reserve, which is your body fat. It's kind of like running out of gas while you're sitting in a full gas station. The fuel is right there, but you can't access it. And the result of that is this, the crash. Sound familiar? Feeling super irritable? Moody? Got that serious brain fog where you can't even think straight? It can even get as bad as memory loss, anxiety, or yeah, even full-blown panic attacks. These aren't just little annoyances, you guys. These are signs that your brain is literally being starved of energy. And let's be really clear about this. We're not just talking about feeling a little hangry here. Dr. Berg really emphasizes that this is a huge strain on your body's most important systems, your nervous system and your brain. You know, this whole thing brings us to a really fundamental idea. To get the problem and the solution, you have to think of your body as having two completely different operating systems it can run on. You can either be a sugar burner or a fat burner. Just look at the difference here. A sugar burner needs a constant drip of glucose to function and is always at risk of these energy crashes. The second they fast, their blood sugar just plummets. Now, a fat burner, that's a whole different story. They're keto adapted. Their body runs on fat, which gives them this steady, consistent energy. So when they fast, no big deal. They just tap right into their own body fat for fuel. It's a way more stable, efficient system. And it really all comes back to the brain. Your brain is an energy hog. It needs a constant, stable fuel source. So when a sugar burner fasts and their blood sugar tanks, there's just nothing to replace it. And that's what causes that massive drop in cognitive function we were just talking about with all those symptoms. Okay, so that's the problem. And yeah, it's a big one. But the really good news is that there's a clear two-step solution to do this the right way and feel great. The entire strategy boils down to this one simple principle. You have to fix your engine before you try to take it on a cross-country trip. You absolutely have to change what your body is burning for fuel before you start changing when you eat. So, how do you actually do it? Well, it's a simple two-step process. Step 1 is all about adapting. You use a ketogenic diet to literally teach your body how to burn fat instead of sugar, turning yourself into a fat burner. Then, and only then, do you move on to step 2, which is to slowly and gradually introduce intermittent fasting. And trust me, the order here is absolutely everything. And what happens when you follow this sequence is pretty incredible. Like Dr. Berg says, your body gets so good at burning its own fat for fuel that fasting doesn't feel like a struggle anymore. You can just naturally and comfortably go longer and longer and longer without eating, and you don't get any of those awful side effects. All right, so let's boil all this down. If there's one single thing you need to take away from all of this, what is it? It really just comes down to this. Being successful with intermittent fasting, it's not about willpower. It's about biology. If you want to avoid the crash, the brain fog, the irritability, and that huge strain on your system, you must get your body into a fat-burning state first. And so that really just leaves us with one final question for you to think about. Before you jump into any new way of eating, it's worth taking a second to ask yourself, what kind of fuel is my body actually running on right now? Because that answer can make all the difference in the world.
Thanks for watching. Remember to start the ketogenic diet first to avoid low blood sugar crashes before you fast. Subscribe for more fat-burning tips.